In this lesson, we're going to look at applying the distributive property and combining the like terms when simplifying expressions. Like term, oh goodness. All right, so let's go ahead and simplify these expressions. All right, something to keep in mind in most cases, now these are going to be able to be simplified first before you would multiply, because if you follow the order of operations, I could do, for example, 4 plus 5 and then times that by x. Same thing with number 2, I could simplify inside the parentheses, which would be just fine, and then you can multiply that then by the 4 by distributing that. Something to keep in mind though, in most cases, you are going to be distributing first, then combining like terms. Okay, distribute, and then combine. And the reason for that is when we follow the, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, the PEMDAS, is that the multiplication and division come before the addition and subtraction. And so we would want to multiply first. So let's just do these using the distributive property in both cases. And so here I'm going to take 4 times x, and I'll get 4x. And then I'm going to then do that again and take the x times 5, and you'll get 5x. Now if you'll notice, you can still simplify this one further. And so I'll combine the x's, and I have 5x plus 4x, and that's going to give me 9x. All right. So our next one, number 2. Again, I could start by simplifying in the parentheses first, but let's go ahead and we're always going to distribute here and then combine like terms. So I'm going to take 4 times my 3x, I'll get 12x. And I'll take 4 times 2 and I'll get 8. And then I'm going to take 4 times 5 and I'm going to get 20x. All right, so now I've simplified this further, but I'm not done. Because if you'll notice, I have 12x and I have 20x. And so those can be combined further. And when I add those together, I am going to get 32x. And then I'm going to have plus 8. All right, so these are a little bit different because there is no other simplifying you can do without distributing first. So if you take a look at this, I have 3 times x plus 4, and then I have plus 4x. What you need to keep in mind is that this 3 is only multiplying what's in that parentheses right next to it. It's only multiplying this right here. You can't extend that over to that 4. So we're going to simplify by distributing first, and then we'll combine the like terms. So I'm going to take my 3 times a 2x, I'll get 6x. And then I'm going to take 3 times 4, and I'm going to get 12. And then that 4x just stands alone. Let's just bring that down so we can kind of clean it up and then we don't forget things. So now we're going to take our 6x, and we can combine that then with our 4x, and we'll add that together. I'll get 6x plus 4x. I'll have 10x plus 12. All right, so now that's simplified as far as it can go because you cannot take the 10x and the 12 and combine them. All right, the same thing goes for number 4. We're going to be distributing. And so let's remember that this is actually a negative 8. So if you want to rewrite that as a plus a negative, you can do that. Okay, we'll do that in this one. Plus a negative 8. I can't see it very well, but all right. So, and then in minus 1. And remember, when you've got this, the only things that are multiplied are the things that are in that parentheses right next to that 2. So I'm going to take my 2 times my x, I'll have 2x. And then I've got 2 times a negative 8. So that results in a negative answer. I can do plus a negative 16, or I can just have minus 16. And now I just have to bring down my minus 1 because that does not get multiplied there. So now we need to combine like terms. And it might be easier to make these a plus a negative, so that you can see that you're combining all those negatives together. So I have the 2x, so now I can combine my negative x, 16x, I'm sorry, negative 16 plus my negative 1, and I'm going to have negative 17. And I could have plus a negative 17. The same thing as when I result in a negative answer, I can just simply put down minus 17 because it means the same thing. All right, so let's take a look at a couple more examples. Here we have 6x minus 4 times 3 minus 2x. This one, I'm going to rewrite this one as doing the click. The plus and negative, I'm just going to rewrite it how it is, and because I can see there being many mistakes All right, so let's go ahead and make our minuses. Let's do the plus and negative so that we don't drop these negatives along the way. All right, so I'm not going to do anything with that 6x. I'm going to just start by bringing it down so we don't forget it. And now I'm going to take the negative 4 times the 3, and I'm going to get a negative 12. Because it resulted in a negative answer, I'm going to have minus 12. I could also have plus a negative. So either one's fine. Since we're doing this, I'm going to say negative 12. All right? Then here I have negative times a negative is a positive. So I have a positive 8, and that resulted in a positive answer, so I'm going to have an 8x. Now let's take a look at this, and now I just need to simplify it one more step. I'm going to take my 6x, and I'm going to plus my 8x. So I'm going to have 14x's, and then I'm just going to make this plus a negative. You can leave it as a plus a negative. I'm just going to write that as a minus 12. All right? So that one's simplified as far as it can go. The same thing with the next one, because I've got all these minuses and negatives, I'm just going to rewrite this one. So I'm going to have my minus 2 minus, or negative 2 minus 2 times 3x minus 4. All right, so here's where I'm going to do the plus and negative. Plus and negative, add the opposite. Click, click. All right, so again, I'm not going to do anything with that first negative 2. I'm just going to bring it down because it's not being distributed with the rest of it. I'm going to have a negative 2 times 3x. That's going to result in a negative 6x. I could have plus a negative, but because I had a negative answer, I'm just going to write minus. And here again, I have a negative times a negative, so I'm going to have plus 8. All right, so now let's combine our like terms. I like to write my variables first, so I just have my negative 6x, and then I'm going to have negative 2 plus 8. So I have 2 negatives and 8 positives, so I'm going to have plus 6. All right, so now I'm all done with that one as well. So in this lesson, we took a look at how to distribute and combine like terms when simplifying expressions. Remember, you need to distribute the multiplying because that becomes before the adding and subtracting. So you're going to distribute and then combine the like terms at the end.